Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
So, after miles, tens of miles of treks through the woods, streams, meadows, furrows, and fields of the Northwest Territories, he's back. He's cut, he's peeled, he's squeezed, he's boiled, he's sterilized, he's canned, he's packed, he's cured, he's labeled his food, and he has foraged, cut, stacked, and covered his firewood. He's back. Class, Rich Scheben is back. Welcome, Rich Scheben.
Well, thank you, Vince. It's, as you know, and our listeners know, I do this every year. I take a few weeks off to catch up on, basically harvesting the garden, harvesting whatever meat I can get hunting or fishing, canning and preserving, getting firewood in. And around here with this off-grid homesteading style lifestyle, if you will, September, October, and even into November is very busy around here, even end of August. So it's nice to take a few weeks off, and now it's time to get back on the air and try to make a difference for our country. So how have you been, Vince?
Yeah, and while you were gone, a whole bunch of things happened, and there's all kinds of stories about conspiracy theories about what happened to Donald Trump. With COVID, some people say it's all a scam. Some people say it's fake. Some people believe it. I happen to believe he got it. I believe his wife got it. I believe the White House is partially infected with it. And I believe it's really serious. And these are terrible times. I mean, some people are saying, well, he did it for the sympathy vote, so people will vote for him because he got it. Some people say I wouldn't vote for him because he was careless and reckless, and why would I vote for him? It's unbelievable the divisiveness that has entered our country. I've never seen anything like this before. The mass stupidity, the mass disinformation, the mass misinformation. And it used to be that people told the truth, at least most of the time. Now you can't believe anything. Nothing. Rich Scheben, it is terrible. So the people don't know what to do. They don't know what to believe. They don't know if it's safe to go outside. They don't know if they should go outside. It's like, yes, you should go outside, get some vitamin D. No, you better not go outside. You might get arrested for being outside. It's beyond belief. And my dad and his brothers, were in World War II. If you were to ask them, like in the 50s or 60s, if they thought any of this would happen, they'd say, no way, impossible. That wouldn't happen to Americans. We wouldn't be like this. We wouldn't be at each other's throats over Democrat versus Republican. We wouldn't be at each other's throats. People don't even want to talk about political parties anymore because you might get stabbed or shot by your friend. It's crazy. So here we are.
Well, a lot of it, Vince, as you know, as we have talked about, and I discuss regularly, whether I'm on the air with you or I'm monologuing or I'm interviewing somebody else. A lot of it's the manufactured perception. It's the job of the mainstream media and the 5 production companies to sway public opinion and manufacture perception, pity, guilt, and ideology. Their job is to race bait and basically hold on to the narrative so they can maintain their addictions to power, money, and control. And this is why you hear every 5 minutes coming from Hollywood and the mainstream media and the wealthiest people in the world words like controversial, racist, bigot, sexist, misogynist, conspiracy theorist, intolerant, hater, anti-ism, phobe. Now, what we have is a high level of lawless bureaucrats receiving kickbacks through every way possible. It could be under the guise of foreign aid. It could be under anything. It's a major abuse of power by people who do not want to see prosperity for the bottom 93%, who actually want to eliminate the middle class, who actually want to create an aristocracy serfdom relationship. And they have been going untouched regarding corruption, racketeering, nefarious leaks, espionage, treason, sedition, fraud, all malicious, nefarious uses of power. And this is what's created a lot of bipartisan bias, because the people on the left who are allied with not just the mainstream media, not just Hollywood, not just all the production companies and every medium out there, but even our enemies like China. And they want to take America down. And I think a lot of people are tired of all the talk, and they want arrests. They want indictments. I mean, let's talk about corruption here for a moment. Bloomberg raises $16 million, pays fines for 32,000 felons in Florida so they can vote. Memory sticks used to program Philadelphia's voting machines stolen from election warehouse. You know, with all this voter election fraud, all these millions of ineligible voters in every state, with regarding voting, multiple ballots, dead people voting, people voting over multiple county and state lines, mail-in ballots to dead people, to their dogs, to their cats. I mean, people are just fed up with the lack of legitimacy in our system. Here's some great corruption articles here. Comey admits Obama asked for updates on Trump surveillance regarding the FISA warrants, regarding the Spygate. It's declassification here. Hillary Clinton implicated in Spygate collusion plot. We all knew that Hillary Clinton and the Democrat National Committee literally paid for the fake dossier. Everything is a scam. Next article, FBI executed Hillary's illegal plot to smear Trump. So I think what people are seeing is tradition, sedition, espionage, all the things I just mentioned, from the racketeering, corruption, all this stuff. And treason is a violation of the allegiance owed to a sovereign state against the Constitution and Bill of Rights, giving aid and comfort to our enemy. It's all over the place. Sedition is stirring up resistance, discord, or rebellion against a government in power. We all know that Antifa and BLM is not just paid for by China and George Soros and that ilk, but it's done to break our country. People are tired of group self-pity points, phony democracy, phony philanthropy, phony benevolence. People want a rule of law, and they want these people arrested. You know, when you really look at a country's prognosis of health, their future prosperity, how is wealth and power in the future going to affect America and where we're going? Now, Donald Trump has been attacked from within because so many people are bribed and mostly blackmailed. And this is why all these names need to come out for all these people who went to pedophile island with Jeffrey Epstein. Why aren't these names coming out? Why aren't there indictments and arrests? What the heck is going on? When you really look at where we're going as a country regarding what I just mentioned, the rule of law is gone. We have no protection, rights, or restitution under the rule of law for people who are affected and targeted. We have runaway power. We have enabled and protected our most corrupt companies in the country with liability immunity, which equates to destroying capitalism, enforcing fraud, illegitimacy, fascism, and leads to wealth inequality. This is what happens when we have allowed political correctness to run amok. When people put more energy into protecting their group, their hyphen, their pronoun, and less energy into start being an American, we're seeing the consequences of decades of inaction of political correctness where free lunch has been given to the elites. And we're using precedents to eliminate the rule of law. So when you look at our rule of law being gone, what's next? Technology. Well, you see people getting cancer left and right, 5G everywhere, censorship and surveillance, trying to own the people and sway their opinion. They're even doing censorship and surveillance on their own president, for crying out loud. And then how about education, which used to be a big part of American success? Well, today it's social and political indoctrination in our government/public schools. 90% of the degrees are worthless. They're teaching more Marx-Linsky, Cloward, and Piven and Frankfurt School strategy than they are teaching math, foresight, skill sets that are going to be beneficial to the people. So that affects competitiveness in a world environment. When we lower the bars of standards and expectations for what group you're in, where hard work, effort, proven results, and qualifications mean less today than they ever have, because so many people in certain groups doubt their own value, and they feel entitled to play the victim group status card. And then when you demand to lower the bars of standards and expectations for that group, you totally delegitimize work. And then next, economic output and productivity. Well, I've talked about crony capitalism and debt and robotics and artificial intelligence, automation taking our jobs for many years. I've done presentations, Vince, on stock buybacks and talk about how the big companies are not just too big to fail and too big to jail, but they get so much money from the taxpayers, which we pay for through taxation or inflation, and they're not putting money into expansion, into new products or services, or into research and development, or new people and employees. No, they're putting it into buying back stocks so the executives can cash in and put money in their pocket. That is a form of inflation when you have less new products in the field. So we had, and I've talked about this till I'm blue in the face, we have a combination of deflation, stagflation, and inflation because of corrupt, nefarious, non-supply and demand practices. And then you look at military strength. Well, all I've heard regarding military is the military-industrial complex on how a lot of rogue generals care more about their own lobbying power and where they're going to sit in some defensive company versus benefiting the people and eliminating war. All I hear about is transgenderism over the last decade being the biggest issue in the military. And then look at our reserve currency. How long are we going to have that? How long is the Federal Reserve note going to have this much clout? And then I want to talk about the confidence when we get back of all this. We'll be right back.
I've got I've got a 5-word comment when we come back. Rich Eben's with us. This is USA Prepares. There's been an expression in America for at least 300 years. And it describes how the bureaucracy can grind you down. It describes what it's like when you meet with the zoning board because you want to understand something, or you want to know why they want to take your property, or you want to know why your taxes have gone up, or you want to know why. So you meet with the government, you go to City Hall, and you find out that there are layers of bureaucracy, layers of employees who are in your way to prevent you from doing whatever it is you're trying to do. And the old expression, the 5 words to describe this is, you can't fight City Hall. And what that means is the individual can't fight City Hall. They will grind you down. And I know this for a fact, because I've been there. But I have a real hard surface, and it's hard to grind down. But you can't always win, but you can try. And what Rich is describing is that people have had it. People have had enough of these layers of employees who are paid to be in your way, to prevent you from finding out the truth, finding out the answers, finding out how the system works. So we have criminals who are protected by other criminals who are protected by other criminals, and the layers go so deep that we can't get to the bottom of it without what's happening next. And that's the Second American Revolution combined with the Second Civil War. And that's why it's already started, because people have had it. Rich?
Well, absolutely. We need to start acting like citizens who expect the government to work for us, not the other way around. You know, we're deceived by a lot of this political correctness and deception. You know, we've allowed intelligence agencies and the rule of law, judges and attorneys especially, to be sold out to the highest bidder. And their job is to manufacture the perception of their own self-importance and self-preservation. Our job is to disclose to the people the illusions of what they've done to us, especially hypocrisy and double standards and brainwashing and the like. Our job is to show how we've been used, played, conned, and used as pawns, because the people do not have representation. And they're dividing us among every skin pigmentation, gender, sexual orientation, religion, etc., etc. So we are allowing professional pot stirrers to break up our chance of synergy and unity. And they're also using biological, chemical, and technological means while using psyops to control us. We are allowing the elite to poison us against ourselves is the simple version. And we have to start playing chess and thinking 4, 5, 6 moves ahead. Same with pool. The best chess and pool players think multiple moves ahead. And we have to look at where the elite wants to take us, because we are living history right now. We are in a totalitarian, tyrannical, communist insurrection, authoritarian takeover. It's just like one of Biden's ads, calling Donald Trump and the people on the right Nazis. It's not even close, and I've gone over this many times. The left does not want the people speaking up. They do not want citizen-free journalists. They want to control the media and the information, the brainwashing and the propaganda, hoaxes, false flags, and lies, and especially gaslighting. They want to control the police. That's exactly what the Nazis did. They brought in their brown shirts, the worst of the worst, to intimidate, threaten, and kill the people so they would buy from the company store and fall in line. The Nazis did not want due process. The Nazis wanted government schools to control curriculum, not the parents. They don't want homeschool. They don't want private property. They want the lawyers and judges to sell out the people in the name of justice. They want voter and election fraud. It's our job to make this public.
All right, we'll be right back. For Scheben's with us, Rich, a lot of things that we were led to believe are just flat out not true. So for example, we could be meeting with a senator or a congressman, and we could say, hey, you work for me. I pay your salary. And people have said that. And you know what the response is? No, I don't work for you. You don't pay my salary. And the congressman and senator would be correct, because their compensation is paid with federal revenue. So the revenue is, it comes from your state and all the other states. It's all commingled. And then out of that commingled amount of money, the compensation for the Congress and senators are paid. So they don't work for us. They don't work for us. And they're absolutely right. So they are not accountable to the people whom elect them. And we're frustrated because we believed that we are the boss and they are our servants. And it's exactly backwards. They are the boss and we are the servants. We've been lied to for a long, long time. And you can't fight City Hall, that's been around for hundreds of years. Because the system is designed to grind us down, to make it so that, you need a permit to protest in a lot of places. Really? You need a permit to air your grievances? That's what they do. And they used to arrest people for not having a permit. And if you want to build an extension on your deck, in your backyard, in your own backyard, there are lots of places that require permits. Why? Because they want to tax you more because you just made it bigger. That's what it's all about. They don't care if you fall and break your neck because of poor construction. They don't care about that. Rich, am I speaking the truth, or have I lost my mind?
Well, we could do 10 shows on this. I mean, Congress represents their funders. Congress represents the lobbyists, the PACs, the special interests. They don't even associate with the people socially unless they can put money in their pocket. That's what it's all about. And that's why the silent majority must realize that being an American is not a spectator sport. We all have to speak up, but we have to speak up with legitimacy and credibility. In other words, everything you hear, and I've said this many times from us on this show or any alternative media show, you need to read, research, and verify. You need to think for yourself. And I promise you, if you do your due diligence and start uncovering information that's in the background, you're going to be led to more rabbit holes and you're going to get more and more information. Because they want to make it seem like everybody's a racist, bigot, sexist, misogynist, conspiracy theory, hater, anti-ismist phobe, right? That's not even close to the case. What they want to do is use divide and conquer strategies. They want to distract us, dumb us down, and especially use divide and conquer strategies. We're not anti-government at all. We're anti-too big government, to corrupt government, to manipulative government, to overspending, incorporated elite control, anti-constitutional government. We need to go back to, certain criteria and judge people for getting a job based on hard work, effort, proven results, qualifications, merit, job performance, things of that nature. Because if we don't, we're going to be infighting and creating chaos between everybody and every group in America while the big elite people pocket money. Like here's an article right here. Some of the world's biggest banks let criminals and fraudsters move dirty money around the globe. And some of these names are HSBC, JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, and Bank of New York Mellon. I mean, there's a whole list of them here where people really need to realize that the corruption, in order to satisfy certain elite people, which are very few, and when I say satisfy that, I mean in the form of power, money, and control. We have to look at how the big corporations, with the help of certain corrupt government entities, are literally controlling the narrative and getting away literally with murder and putting money in their pockets out of ours. Vince, when I've given my what I call economic 101 updates, and I've given lectures on economy, how many articles, how much proof, whether I'm using Keynesian economics, whether I'm talking about deflation, stagflation, inflation, whether I use how the technocracy is taking our jobs away with robotics, automation, and artificial intelligence, whether I'm talking about subsidies, money printing, special interest lobbyists, and tax, whether I'm talking about sound money, solvency, insolvency, group identity politics, Keynesian economics, central bank, corrupt monetary policies, incorporating our demographics, unsustainable headwinds about future rates of growth, talking about debt, credit, pensions, valuations. You get fractional reserve lending, printing money out of thin air, welfare for the rich, stock buybacks. How many examples over the 9 years that you've known me have I given showing that it's not about what skin pigmentation or what gender or what sexual orientation or what religion or et cetera? It's about taking the money from the bottom 93% and rigging the system and giving it to the elite. How much evidence have I given over the years on that, Vince?
Well, I'd have to say it's nonstop. And there's a guy by the name of Pat Kiley, and he used to have an expression, and it was a really good expression. I don't think it originated with Pat Kiley, and that was follow the money. Follow the money. And it's always about that, or almost always about that. If you get fired from the radio, it's typically about money. Either you had a problem with an advertiser, or you didn't do what you're told because revenue was diminished because of not doing what you're told. It's usually about money. And when you look at politics, it's always about money. It's always about those guys who allegedly represent us, who don't. Those guys are always looking for more money. They're always running for re-election, and they're always trying to figure out how they can take money from some people, promise it to others, and keep all of it. That's what they do. That's what they do. It's very sad. And, you know, here's a really simple example of how weird things have gotten. As you all know, I'm a member of Sam's Club, and I keep asking myself why. Well, they keep giving me renewal subscriptions for their $100 a year membership because I'm so disgruntled with them that they just say, here's another year, add that onto your membership. So I got an email from these guys, and it's all about savings. It says, Sam's Club, these savings, so good. Shop now. And so it has images. It's got a cardigan sweater. It's got a 55-inch TV. It's got a 65-inch TV. It's got a washer-dryer set. It's got a pergola. And it has a LG 28 cubic foot 4-door refrigerator. Online only, $900 off. Now that kind of piqued my interest. And I was thinking, how can they sell a refrigerator with $900 off? So I clicked on it. Now, first of all, most of us don't have exactly the space for a 28 cubic foot refrigerator. It won't fit. It's too big. So $900 off, and you click on it, and it brings you to the website, and it says they start at $1,998, and that's the cheap one, and it's out of stock. Now, if you want the nice one, it's on sale for $3,414. I'm talking about a refrigerator. How did we get to the point where we are so stupid that we would pay $3,414 for a refrigerator that would normally sell for $4,000? How did we get to that point? And it has a TV and an ice maker and water and a water dispenser. It's got everything. I'm sure it connects to the internet. We have lost our minds. We've given up so much for apparent conveniences. We need to get back. We have given up the shifting an automobile. We now have a perlandel. That's park. Neutral, reverse, drive, low. That's what they call the shift lever on Green Acres, the old TV show, perlandel. Well, we've given up shifting 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even overdrive, 5th gear, for an automatic transmission. Then we decided that we had to have cruise control. Then they decided for us that we needed it. Then we can't even turn the windshield wipers on, so we have automatic windshield wipers. And we can't remember to turn the lights on, so the lights come on automatically for us. And we can't remember, to use the gas pedal properly. It's too hard to press on that darn thing. So what we have is cruise control. Then we need automatic driving vehicles because we're too lazy. We want to watch a movie instead of operating the automobile, watching where we're going, using the brake, the accelerator, and the steering wheel, and turn signals, and so forth. This laziness is costing us dearly. And if you look at young people, they don't know how to do anything. They really don't. I've talked to people who are managers in stores, and they are at their wits' end because they can't find people to pay attention. They really can't. And it's apparent. I've called so many companies on the phone trying to find parts, and I got to tell you, no matter who I call, no matter what I'm looking for, they can't figure it out. I can say, well, I bought this from you in the past. Do you still sell those? Well, let me look. But the guy's job is to know this, and he doesn't know. Well, I don't know. Can I have your number? What's a good number to call you back in case we get disconnected? I have hung up on I don't mean slam the phone down, hung up. I mean, just, you know what? I'll tell you what. I appreciate you trying, but I'll figure out another way on my own. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Goodbye. That's where we are. And people have had it. The rest of us have had it. Rich, how about that question I asked you last night on the phone about how thick you thought metal was on a car? Was that alarming or what?
It is alarming. Vince asked me last night when we talked privately what ratio of metal to paint I thought today's vehicles have. And I just used a little common sense and logic, and shame on me because, see, technology today is masked. It's to justify higher costs. It's to make it so we can't fix things or we need a computer to do it, so we have to pay more money out of our pockets so we can be more controlled because we're broke. Keep in mind the word smart means spy. We need to go back to basics, food, water, shelter, and energy, and making those things ourselves. I guessed a 10-to-1 ratio metal to paint. After the break, Vince will tell you what the real ratio is on today's cars.
You won't believe it. We'll be right back. I'm so delighted to be broadcasting with my dear friend, Rich Scheben. So last night when I was talking with Rich Scheben, on the telephone, I said, so Rich, and I tried to frame this question, not to bias him in any way, to get his reaction to the question. And the question was, so Rich, when you think about the skin of a car, how thick the metal might be, how would you think of the ratio of the thickness of the metal skin, the front fender, that kind of thing, the trunk, the hood? What would you think the thickness of the metal is compared to the thickness of the paint on the metal? So let's say you have a white truck, and that white paint plus the primer and, that paint, maybe the clear coat, on top of the metal, what would the ratio of metal to paint be? And he said what many of you would think. So just think about that real quickly, and I'll tell you what it is. So what would that ratio be? Well, his answer was what you would think. 10 thicknesses of metal to 1 thickness of paint, right? Obviously. No. The reason I know this is because our son was loading my truck, and he leaned on the bed box from the side where the wheel is, and he put some items in the truck. And then he handed me this chunk of metal that broke off because of the rust. Now, he handed me this piece. And it was, let's say, a couple inches by a couple inches. Now, this was not where the rust had worn the metal away, but there was rust all around this piece, and that's why it fell off. So I looked at the edge of the sheet metal, and I could see, it's like looking at a piece of paper. Normally we look at the top or the bottom. We don't look at the edge of a piece of paper, but I looked at it on edge. Rich thought it was about 10 to 1. 10 thicknesses of metal to 1 thickness of paint. It's actually about 1 thickness of metal to 1.5 thicknesses of paint. The paint is thicker than the metal. Now, I know you find that hard to believe, but here's the visual proof. If you look at some vehicles that are on the road, like, driving down the road and you come to a stoplight and you go, gosh, how did that part of the car, that back corner, get wrinkled so much? How did they get so many door dents? How hard do you have to hit the door to dent it? And it looks like crumpling aluminum foil. The thickness of the metal of the sheet metal of a car is about the thickness of 2 sheets of paper. Now, if you have a pad of paper, with cardboard backing, you might think the metal is as thick as the cardboard on the back. Now, I'm not talking about corrugated cardboard. I'm talking about 1 thickness. It's thinner than that. It's thinner than the backing. It's the thickness of about 2 sheets, possibly 3 sheets of paper. It's pretty scary, right? So we've been conned. That's why Sam's Club can't sell in their store refrigerators and appliances, because the sheet metal has gotten so thin that the guys that are employed at the Sam's Club warehouse where you shop, the store, they can't handle the forklifts without destroying the appliances. How do I know? Because I talked to the manager. I asked for the store manager. I said, hey, you all used to sell appliances. What happened? You used to have a great brand, Whirlpool. You called it a state brand. It was your house brand. They were fabulous. I'd like to buy those. Well, we don't sell them anymore. Why? Well, because of the guys with the forklift break them all the time. They bang them up. And we lose money selling them, at a discount because they're all banged up. They're banged up not necessarily only because the guys they hired to run the forklifts are careless and reckless and don't know what they're doing. It's because the sheet metal is so thin that they can't take the slightest jar. That's what's happening to America. That's what's happening to your cars. And we see it every day here at the farm. We work on all kinds of cars. And the newer they are, the junkier they are. I didn't want to take this diversion, but I wanted to tell you, with Rich Scheben, you have been conned at every level, whether it's a television, a computer, a keyboard, a video screen, an appliance, a car, roof shingles, siding. It doesn't matter. You have been conned. They have taken out the quality everywhere they can. Rich, any quick comments?
Well, I do have comments, but I'm going to have to probably wait, obviously, because the music's coming on until after this next break. But we have a non-functional, unsustainable gig economy where the elite companies are getting the buybacks, the stock buybacks, the free money, the too big to fails, too big to jails. And what does it do? It brings down quality. We'll be back right after this break, folks.
Yeah, and if you want to buy vintage quality, it's going to cost more now for a 40-year-old quality USA-made item than it cost when it was brand new 40 years ago. No kidding. We'll be right back. Everyone all set? Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Rich Scheben's with us. And I guess one of the takeaways that you can find in today's broadcast is that you're on your own. City Hall's not coming to help you. The government's not coming to help you. The stimulus that was, it's coming in soon it's going to be huge. Or is it? People have lost their jobs. They can't pay their electric bill. They can't pay their water bill. We've got millions of people who are at the risk of losing their electricity and water because they can't afford to pay the water bill, because they've lost their job, because they've been shut down. We are in so much trouble. You're on your own, class. You have to provide for your family. You have to do it. Don't call anybody. Don't wait. Get it done. Figure out what you need and get it done, because it's only getting worse. Rich?
Well, Vince, I got to tell you, you're dead wrong. Can I tell you why?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, we are getting plenty of stimulus money, but it's going to the big corporations and the big banks and the big too big to fail, too big to jail. Let me give you some examples. Banks have been getting Federal Reserve money / Treasury money with no origination risk, so they're getting this free Treasury money and letting it out to businesses for profit. And a lot of them aren't even doing it because they've increased the qualifications to get this money, so they want to hold on to it. So it's the same thing with medical passports and all this chips implanted under your skin and all this new technology, all this bread and circuses and dumbed down and divided strategies. These people are getting money. How about AstraZeneca? I'm sure you read about that. Vaccine maker got $1 billion from taxpayers. Now it's boosting drug prices. See, what we have to do, folks, is we have to look at what the agenda really is. The agenda is to create a forced austerity to protect the elite, but not represent the little guy. And it's got a chain reaction against all Trump supporters and patriots. They want to crash the economy. They want to delegitimize work. They want to end free market supply and demand. They want to end cash. They want to create a government centralized cryptocurrency, which would put everybody in a caste system unless you're buying from the company store, so to speak. They want to stop patriotic peaceful assembly. They want technology controlled by China, along with the UN, the World Health Organization, backed by Hollywood, Soros, Gates, and all the big money people. They want the worst unemployment ever. They want social distancing so we become more submissive, which breaks our will. They don't even want people. I've read articles in the past where there's signs about social distancing saying don't even look people in the eye. What do you think that's all about? They want to eliminate legitimacy of voting and rig the system. They want to create more depression, domestic violence. If you look at the numbers, defaults, delinquencies, bankruptcies for the little guy, they're going up. They want more division, chaos, and infighting. They want to eliminate freedom, liberty, the rule of law, and the Constitution. They want to starve you out. They want to continue with the fake mainstream media to control the information, to keep people dumbed down. They want major depopulation. They want to eliminate free speech. They want to force you with vaccinations to lower your immune system and give you immunity passports. They want forced lockdowns, house arrest. They want construction of new 5G towers to make you sicker. This is what happens when we let divide and conquer strategies perpetuate. Basically, they want people to rationalize and justify their hate and political correctness. This is what happens when you stick up for your group, hyphen, and pronoun. It means that you have to hate standing for principle. Okay, and this is how they use the psyops. They embarrass you and they go for your ego. But they don't care about what group you're from. They don't care what shade of skin, pigmentation, or gender, or sexual orientation, religion you have. I promise you, they do not care. This is a tool to divide us. And unless we show synergy and unity, freedom, liberty, the rule of law will be gone, and a new caste system with much lower life expectancy will be the new norm. And this is why we have to realize what the new America will look like if we don't stand up. Look who they're rewarding right now, tattletales, people who are pro-tyranny, pro-censorship, pro-surveillance, pro-police state. And I don't mean our police. I mean replacing them with brown shirts to eliminate the present rule of law and due process and all the things in our Constitution and Bill of Rights. No protection for people who want to protect themselves, their homes, their families via the Second Amendment. Jobs, only done now by what group you're in. Hard work, effort, proven results, and qualifications have never meant so little as they do today in America. We are literally seeing people at the very top pro-depopulation. No babies, no families, but men can have babies and periods. I want you to wrap your head around that. Very little nutrition in today's foods. The value of money or currency in big question. No rights or restitution or protection under the rule of law. All depends on what group you're in. Little commerce opportunities. The little guy is going bankrupt across this country because of these lockdowns. Corrupt, bought and paid for judges, lawyers, politicians, and bankers, again, using divide and conquer strategies. We are seeing losses of freedom and liberty on a minute-by-minute basis while they're taking everything away that America was built for us. That was our birthright. And they're using political correctness and all of its subsets to take us down. So, Vince, when you say that no one's coming to help us, you're absolutely right. And this is why this show is what it is. This is why we talk about preparedness. We talk about gardening. We talk about, for the average Joe, getting 20 to 40 acres of land, raising animals, growing your own crops, living off grid like I do, like you do partially. I mean, it's the skill sets. It's the change. It's not just outside the box thinking. It's outside the box doing and living is what we must do right now. And we must share information with as many people as possible, because the elite are destroying our opportunity, our knowledge, our ingenuity, our productivity, and innovation for the little guy. They are rewarding mediocrity and putting America into the category of a law of diminishing returns, where we're professional wordsmithing, subliminal messaging, media propaganda, Hegelian dialectic, and all this PC stuff is destroying us from within. We have to create a plan of action. We have to start thinking 3, 4, 5, 6 moves ahead, and we got to go back to basics. We have to relearn those old 19th century skills, and if you want, dovetail them with 21st century technology. But remember, the word smart also means the word spy. It's about a censorship, surveillance, control, the people technology. It's not for the people. We are the product. Do you understand? We are the product of technology. In other words, that they are using it to control and manage the serfs. And this is why they want robotics and artificial intelligence and automation and the technocracy, if you will, to step in, because they do not want self-sufficiency. They do not want you thinking for yourself. They want you to be groomed followers. And it's up to us to start thinking and living outside the box. Vince?
So I was thinking about when I was a younger person, maybe in my late teens, early 20s, and they used to have parking meters in cities, and you could pull up to a parking meter if you could find a space and put a nickel in there or a couple nickels, and then it went up to a quarter. Well, I was wondering what the parking, how much it would cost to park in New York City. And they have these cards that you can buy, and you can, I guess it's like a credit card. I haven't seen one, but I'm trying to figure this out. But I believe it's like a credit card, and you put money on this card, and then you slide the card into the parking meter. And you can do it like, you can get a $20 one or much more. You can put much more money on your card if you want. But what that does, when you said smart, and that equals spy, well, obviously, because if you buy the card, they know who you are. And if you put your card in the parking meter, they know who you are. They know where you parked. They know how long you parked. Okay? That's just one little thing that they know about you. And I was wondering, what is the cost if you don't come back to your car within the allotted time? So, you say, okay, I'll be back in a half an hour. And you're back in 36 minutes instead of 30. Well, you get a 5-minute break. But if you're after 5 minutes, 1 minute later, they can give you a fine. And how much is the fine? $65. So what I'm saying is the metal's gotten thinner. The warranties aren't honored. There's nobody to call. The fines are astronomical. It's oppressive every way you look at it, including parking meters. And believe it or not, when I was trained at IBM at 909 3rd Avenue, New York City back in the 70s, my task in training was to design a parking ticket system for the city of New York. Yeah, that's part of my training, to design one of those things. And that's why I zeroed in on parking meters and parking tickets. What was the last amount you ever remembered putting in a parking meter, Rich?
Well, because I live quite rural, it's rare when I even have to do that, to be honest with you, Vince.
Yeah.
Most places,
I'm thinking 40 years for me, but, I haven't done it in 40 years, but, I remember you could use tokens. You could, pull nickels out of your pocket and put them in the meter. And you could be anonymous, right? It was anonymous. Nobody asked you where you got your nickels from. Nobody had you sign into that parking meter, but that's not the case anymore. They know who you are, and they know where you've parked and where you've used that card, etc. So you're absolutely right, Rich Scheben. And it's frustrating. And people who want privacy, it's really difficult to have privacy today. It's really expensive to have privacy. If you want to be off the grid, it's going to cost you a minimum of $20,000. If you want to run, a major part of your house with a refrigerator and a freezer, etc. Forget air conditioning. That's not included in the $20,000. So we're on our own, and I'd like to suggest to our class, get what you need right now, because tomorrow it's going to be harder to get and more expensive. And who knows if you're even going to get it if you order it by mail. Who knows if you're even going to get it? Because it's taking weeks and weeks for mail to arrive today. We'll be right back. Rich Scheben with... Hey, Rich, are we going to get into news in a flash?
I can, absolutely.
Okay, no calls today, class. Here's something really simple, class. So, let's say your shower drips, and you want to have the shower control valve replaced. I just looked it up. $250 to $800 to replace your dripping shower control valve. I suggest you get that part now, and it'll probably cost $20, and you can replace it yourself while you can still get the parts without ripping out the tile. How much does it cost to replace spark plugs on a Chevy Silverado? Nothing special pickup truck. $262 to $317. How much does spark plugs cost me? I can get the best spark plugs in the world for $20 for all of them by using a rebate, and I can do the job in a half an hour. And if you want to bring it to a mechanic, it'll cost $262 to $317. It's getting worse. Out of control worse. Back to you, Rich.
Well, thank you, Vince. Yeah, I'll start talking about some articles, news in a flash, as you call it, Vince, but I'm going to try to make things relative regarding the corruption that we see regarding, the COVID, the vaccines. And regarding, I'm going to start with what you said, how things regarding anonymity and control we're losing all of it. And I'm going to start with some articles right here. Schumer and Warren introduced resolution to cancel $50,000 in student loans. Next article, D.C. spends $30,000 per student. Only 23% of 8th graders can read. Let me reread that. Again, my disclaimer, as it always is, these are published articles in the public domain. I'm not making up these articles, I promise. D.C. spends $30,000 per student. Only 23% of 8th graders can read. You heard that correctly. And where I'm leading up to, folks, is this article. Homeschooling surges as public school opening falter. It's not just because of COVID. It's not just that the parents fear these vaccinations are going to shorten the life of their children, if not kill them. It's not just the fact that Bill Gates and Henry Kissinger and the royal family and dozens of others of elites are calling for depopulation, while some of these people are in the medical field, not only having patents on the vaccines, but having patents on the viruses. I want you to think about that. And keep in mind, most vaccines, and this is old news, and this is admitted even by the CDC back in the day, and from what I'm reading, the CDC, the NIH, and the FDA has blood on their hands. And most contain mercury, MSG, formaldehyde, aluminum, all potent neurotoxic chemicals and heavy metals. So think immune stimulants in lieu of immune suppressants. Think nutrition, hydration, exercise, sleep, and limiting exposure to chemicals. Think about all the food-like products that are addictive. Think about avoiding synthetic, artificial, refined, and processed. Okay, and this is why everybody, or a lot of people, need to move rural and start living outside the box, not just thinking outside the box. Because, you know, we had this thing called Nuremberg, and we look like, it's looking like people are going to be tools of medical experimentation. You know, we were talking earlier about how a lot of these elite companies are getting funding. Well, how come all these hospitals are getting funding for undercovering so-called COVID infections, even though up to 90% of these tests are false positives? You know, we have an almost non-existent mortality rate compared to a lot of other so-called pandemics. But what the elite are doing is selling fear. I'm not saying this isn't a geoengineered, man-made bioweapon. It is. But we're giving up our freedoms and liberties, and the lockdown is overdone. Remember, this is 99% agenda-driven and 1% virus. So think about homeschooling. Think about getting people in your neighborhood, in your state, who have 15 years of successful private experience. Have them come in as guest speakers. Round up a bunch of families. Start your own school. Start your own homeschooling curriculum. Have a parent in the room at all times. Think outside the box. Live outside the box. We need ideas and solutions, and we need to do it. We'll be right back, folks.
Rich Scheben, you said something really important, and you mentioned that there needs to be an adult in the room when schooling's going on. So what's happening with the public training camps is they are doing what's called distance learning. And that is they have a screen. You sit at your computer screen and you kind of watch what's happening, and the teacher's there on the screen, and the teacher can say, Susie, so what's the answer to question number 5? And Susie can hit a button on her smartphone to launch an application which will cause distortion and drop out of the voice in the video. So it'll look like Susie just lost, a good quality connection. And Susie can just say, well, I have no idea. And the teacher could say, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. And Susie can say, Mary had a little lamb. And the teacher could say, Susie, I can't hear you. I guess we'll go on to Mary. Mary, what's the answer? So what is happening is there are all kinds of excuses why we don't have to pay attention in school now. We don't even have to show up. But what you can do is you can buy your own lessons, which is what we did when we homeschooled our children. And they're called the Great Courses. And you can buy them, the Great Courses. Just do a search. It's the Teaching Company. The Teaching Company. And they have them for as much as 85% off. And there's history, math, every subject you can possibly think of. And these are the best of the best of the best teachers. And what happened was, in the good old days, students would nominate their best instructors to the teaching company. And the teaching company would interview these instructors and then invite the ones that they really thought were outstanding. They would invite them to an audition, and the teachers would be on stage and they would teach, and it would be video recorded, and those lessons would be sold. Okay, so look it up. They are spectacular. Just my thoughts. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And there's plenty of information on the internet, even for free. You do not have to have your children dumb as a box of rocks as a result of the training they get by the public training camp. You can avoid all of that, and you can have some really smart children. And I have to tell you, no one who has met our children said, boy, they're pretty dumb. No one. They say just the opposite. Rick Scheben?
Absolutely. Well, I just want to comment on some of the things that was done during the last break. You know, you heard someone talking about, well, we got to judge the character of the new Supreme Court justice. And yet, I mentioned these articles, which everybody in the nation knows now. Comey admits Obama asks for updates on Trump surveillance. Hillary Clinton implicated in Spygate collusion plot. FBI executed Hillary's illegal plot to smear Trump. There's no character. There's the elite getting away with murder. That's all it is. It all depends on what group you're in. Aristocracy, serf, Democrat, Republican, skin pigmentation, gender, sexual orientation, religion, etc. All it matters is what group you come from. That is it. You know, it's really funny. Biden, in the last break, was talking about courting Latino votes, and yet the mainstream media never mentions, we do, about how Ilhan Omar said that Latinos can't compete in a merit-based system. And how about Kamala Harris? I'm looking at an article right now where her relatives used to own up to 1,100 plus slaves. So much for Black Lives Matter. See, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. The whole system is illegitimate. And this is why CNN's Don Lemon said we gotta blow up the entire system. It's because the people are waking up to the illegitimacy and the fraud and the racketeering and the corruption and the manipulation and the deception. This is why he said that. Because he's just a bought and paid for Me Too yes man. He is literally just saying what the narrative is supposed to be. It's just like when Gavin Newsom said, the debate is over about climate change. Even though President Trump, before the wildfires started, the Greens and the liberal courts basically eliminated Trump's forest management policies. I got a degree in forestry. They basically kept the latter fuels in there, not to mention the fact that all the people on the left were starting fires and being caught. You know, we've gotten to the point where things have literally gotten ridiculous, just like in Portland. Spends more than $1 million on Antifa homeless shelters, paid for you, the taxpayers. This is why we got to talk about the corruption. I know we're short on minutes, but I'm going to rattle through a few articles, news in a flash, as Vince likes to call it. Newsom quietly signs bill reducing penalties for sex with minors, as long as they are. That includes sodomy with minors if it's same sex. Please look this up. I know some people are thinking I'm making this up. I am not. I promise. These are published articles in the public domain. Next article. Heritage Foundation proves China is funding Antifa and BLM, along with George Soros and a lot of these other big names. Next article. Mueller's team members accidentally wiped phones clean of data. When you have this kind of corruption and lack of accountability, how do you create consumer confidence in a system that just protects certain people of certain groups, especially in the elite, if they're so-called on the left, which is anti-America and anti-Bill of Rights and Constitution, anti-rule of law? Next article. Defund the police activists. This is a beauty. And these are a couple weeks old because I've been off the air for a few weeks. Defund the police activist Alyssa Milano thought she was in danger on Sunday and called the police because some teenager was shooting squirrels or something, and she thought that somebody had an assault gun or something and was getting dangerous, too close to her. But this is the irony of double standards and hypocrisy. She's a huge defund the police activist because she can afford a house that's safe. She can afford private people to what, protection, if you will, private security, who carry guns to protect her. But see, the rest of us can't afford things like that, so we have to do it on our own. Next article, Democrat Michigan Secretary of State misprints Trump ticket on ballots for troops. You can't make this stuff up, folks. This is not done by accident. They call it a misprint. They call it an accident. They call it misspoke. They call it half-truths. But it's not. It's all done by planned intention. Next article. Biden has 51 unemployed donors. Trump just has 2.7. That's code for people who are very wealthy bringing money in with anonymity, and basically not caring about voting laws or whatever the law says, how much you can deliver to a candidate. So they're bringing it in under anonymous sources, and they're saying that they're just the little people, the 51% unemployed. Yeah, right. Why did Mayor of Moscow give your son $3.5 million? This is so important, folks. This is regarding basically Democrat president nominee Joseph Biden. He flatly denied on Tuesday night's debate that his lawyer took huge sums of money from corrupt oligarchs and Chinese communists during his vice presidency. But the Treasury Department reports show that Hunter Biden, Joe's son, did receive the money. And President Trump rightfully chose to make an issue of Hunter Biden's cash from Russia, Ukraine, and China, and the implication of unsavory figures during the debate. When somebody gets $3.5 million with no experience and no anything, while the Democrat Party spent hundreds of millions of dollars on our taxpayer dollars on Russia, and the Mueller hoax. There has to be accountability when they are literally doing what they say we are doing. While Hunter Biden received a single wire transfer of $3.5 million from Alina Petorina. The Senate report said she became a billionaire through illegal construction contracts awarded by her husband, which is now dead. We need to get what we need, folks, is we need arrests. We need indictments. All we have is talk. There's some declassifications coming, but it's all talk. It's just corruption. Next article. Biden is so busted because it shows a teleprompter when he was asking questions in a reflection of some type of mirrored object. That means it's all canned. Not only does he have the answers canned on a teleprompter, that means the questions are known. It's just like Donna Brazile giving the questions to Hillary Clinton prior to the debate. It's all fake. It's all a con job. Every bit of it. And that's why these cheat by mail. I mean, they're finding 350 dead voters on rolls in almost every state casting multiple ballots. If they allow vote by mail, the whole system is done. It's gone. It's corrupt. It's a total. Here's an article. Patriot receives 4 absentee ballots in Minnesota. I'm quoting him. People can use fake name to register. My leftist neighbors can put my name on an absentee ballot. Minnesota is in real trouble. This isn't just Minnesota and the swing states. This is happening across the country. I remember when I just came back from a few days in the woods hunting, and I read about a cash exchange by Ilhan Omar and people being caught on video getting hundreds of dollars for general election tampering. You can't make this stuff up, folks. I mean, and where are the arrests? And this is James O'Keefe actually got this on video. This is video and audio proof. If you or I did 1/1,000,000th of what these people are doing, we would be in prison for probably the rest of our life. And I want to talk a little bit about COVID and vaccines for a minute. I know I'm hurting on time, so I'm just going to rattle through a bunch of of articles here. No medical justification for emergency powers. Open letter from hundreds of doctors, health pros urging to end the lockdown, because it's the agenda, what I talked about. It's to destroy the economy, destroy cash, destroy small business, create fascism where the big corporations and corrupt government create an alliance. We've talked about this many times. Can we trust Big Pharma to find a cure for COVID-19? No, because I've talked about that many times. The Lancet rules Russian COVID-19 vaccine safe and effective. Well, we know the Lancet has taken the money. They're corrupt. Republican or Representative Wendy Ullman and Governor Tom Wolf caught on hot mic admitting masks are political theater. We'll be right back after this break.
All right, we'll be right back. Two very quick comments, Rich. One is 9 years. I believe you mentioned 9 years of broadcast. I want to thank you. It's been my pleasure. Not that we're going anywhere right now, but I just want to say thank you. And the other thing is you mentioned Gavin Newsom. He is, through an executive order, he's banning all gasoline-powered cars. New cars, gasoline-powered, will be banned in California within 15 years. That's 2035. It's 15 years from now. That will destroy the power grid in California. There is not enough electricity to charge the electric cars. So that's just thoughtless, careless recklessness on the part of just one thing that the governor of California has not thought through. Back to you, Rich.
Well, actually, Vince, first of all, I want to say it's my honor to be broadcasting with you for this long as well. And I want to, as I always try to remember on each broadcast, I want to thank you for allowing me to exercise my First Amendment right. And I'm going to say you're wrong again, because it is thought through. Governor Newsom and the left has thought through all this. Basically, what they want to do is push people in the city so they can't drive, so they can keep the power for themselves out in the country with all their big money and fly around in their fancy jets and everything else, and everybody else will be living in small little apartments and having no life and basically being vegetables and not having the ability to react, think for themselves, or to control their own destiny. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to say, well, we just not enough power to go around, so they're going to keep shoving people into suburban, urban America so they can be controlled. So that being said, let me finish a few articles here regarding COVID/vaccines. And I don't know if I was heard with this article towards the end, because music was coming in, but Representative Wendy Ullman and Governor Tom Wolf, I believe he's the governor of Pennsylvania, were caught on a hot mic admitting the masks are, quote unquote, political theater. Next article, states stop recording flu and pneumonia deaths since COVID started. Only time they have ever done this. And we've talked about this many times, folks. Not just respiratory illnesses not being recorded, but people, car accidents, motorcycle accidents, gunshot wounds. Remember the president of Tanzania? He sent in apparently a specimen, a swab, if you will, from a goat and a fruit. I think it might have been a papaya, and they came back positive. So we can't believe anything that comes from an institution or quote-unquote official authorities, and especially the mainstream media. It has to be verified. Next article. Mayor hid extremely low case transmission in order to keep bars and restaurants closed. And this is in Nashville. And all this information came out. It was a fraud. Next article. Biden and Anderson Cooper busted for fake social distancing. I cannot tell you how many pictures and videos I've seen of the press after the cameras are off, the masks are off, and they're right next to each other, not only not social distancing, but not wearing masks. Same with Hollywood. Same with a lot of these people. Now, again, I'm not saying this is not a real virus. This is a man-made, geoengineered bioweapon. This was released at the exact time for all the agendas that we've talked about on the air today and many, many times. Okay, this is a totalitarian, tyrannical, communist insurrection takeover. We are seeing it in live time. We are living history. President Trump, who happens to be, 74 years old-ish, somewhere around there? How come he got better? And all the mainstream media did this weekend was talk about his comorbidities because he's obese. Then how come a 74-year-old obese man who knows if this wasn't a false positive, it wouldn't surprise me. But keep in mind, COVID is one of the largest, if not the largest, variants for flu in the world. But how come President Trump got better in one weekend? The so-called obese old guy? Folks, we have to start thinking for ourselves. We have to do our own reading and research. We can't go to this narrative that is publicized by the left. We can't. We have to question what they say. They are. You never empower a nation by lowering the bars of standards and expectations for a job. You never empower a nation by making people submissive. You never empower a nation by creating fake news and fake mediums and bought and paid for everybody. You don't reward mediocrity and do your people any benefits. It's up to us to say it like it is. It's up to us to do the reading and research. It's up to us to be Americans. Vince, thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Rich Scheben. It's delightful broadcasting with you. It's delightful talking with you on the phone, off the air. And it is wonderful having you as my very dear friend. And I really mean that. Class,
I'm back at you, buddy.
If you can find someone like Rich, if you can find someone like Rich Scheben to be your friend, you will have done very, very well. I'm very serious about that. Rich, thank you for all your hard work. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. And Rich Scheben's back.